Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got NBA best bets here for you guys. Some sides and totals look on Monday with 10 games in the NBA on this pretty big slate to kick off the work week with you guys. 500 all around on Friday last week, so still hanging right above that in the plus money here, at least in the last couple of weeks, especially here on best bets and player props. So we'll look to keep it going for you guys. Make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the player props episode. We have both of those up each and every weekday moving forward, so definitely want to continue to follow along with us all season. Nate, let's go ahead, jump right into your first look here for Monday night.
Yeah, I'll take the Wolves at plus 9.5. I mean, you're going to be sweating this if with the injury report. If Anthony Edwards doesn't go, then you might be holding a bad ticket because it might then be like plus 14.5. I don't know if you're dead though. The way the Wolves can play defense, they can maybe just muck this up and stay with Cleveland in Cleveland. But I mean, it really is the defense that we're looking at. But before I go into that, just situationally, this is the biggest spread of the season for the Wolves as an underdog. And they are not the Wolves of the first couple months that were just like plodding along. They already are good again as underdogs, 6-2 ATS versus as a home favorite, just horrible, below 30%. But their last four in particular, since they've gotten some mojo, 3-1 straight up as dogs, covered all four by an average of 16 points per game. So they're winning decisively. Plus 320 money line is worth a very small sprinkle if Anthony Edwards is playing here. I mean, Cleveland did lose twice to the Rockets without Mobley, but that is kind of the physical, like in your face, take away the 3-pointer type team that can give them trouble. And that's exactly why I like the Wolves in this matchup. I mean, they're in their last 12, number one, limiting corner three attempts, number three, above the break 3-point percentage right there, or actually slightly ahead of another team that does that very well in the Boston Celtics, who, were able to identify a spot that they wanted to play guys and against the Cavs and flex their playoff potential. And sure enough, they just like shut down this Cavs offense in the first half, pretty much paved the way for a win. I mean, Wolves don't have to shut them down. Like I said, they just got to like muck it up a little bit. They got to, get in the face of these two guards, which they can do with JD and now playing so well, like they did in the playoffs last year. Sort of DiVincenzo and Randall being out of there, just at least freeze all these guys up. Naz Reid too, just be like, this was our team last year. It's just as if Cat was out, and he was out for a lot of last year and the year before that too. So I mean, we know how to play in this spot. Naz Reid seems to actually do better when it's a tougher defensive matchup. So I was like thinking about fading him against Evan Mobley, and I was like, no, every time it's a good defense, Nas just like manufactures buckets out of somewhere. Cavs have been bottom 10 guarding the corner three. So that is Nas, that is JDM. That's everybody. If you have Anthony Edwards in there playing like an MVP, sucking in the defense, and then spraying it out to corner shooters, I do like what the Wolves could do here as long as they have their MVP.
That's it, yeah. As long as they have their MVP, no qualms with that. If Ant is out there, would like Mike Conley to be out there as well. I think they've been seeing how much he helps their maturity, let's call it. I mean, he definitely settles things down on offense when he's out there, and then they are still able to get athletes in around him at this point, and a little bit less Rob Dillingham in this matchup would probably be good as well for the way that I think Mike Conley can handle these guards on Cleveland. So yeah, I like the Wolves with such a huge spread. This is obviously seems to be pricing in Ant not playing, because I could see this going down, right? A couple points at least with Ant not in there. He's got one of the highest wins above replacement in the league, obviously. So that would definitely be huge. But let's see what happens. You definitely got ahead of something here if Ant is ruled in. So I'm going to go to Orlando, two teams. I don't call them struggling. I mean, Orlando's still struggling, but I'm going to take the road dog here in Atlanta, plus 5.5 at Orlando. Like, let me just start with this. I mean, Atlanta is in the top 5 in terms of a spread. Their record here against the spread, on the road as dogs, and on the road in general, better than you might think. But as dogs on the road, covering in 13 of 21 games on the season. So, pretty good record there, like I said, in the top 5 there. But really, this is also going to come down to still no Jalen Suggs and us really just going Do we all know how important Jalen Suggs is to this team? If you want to talk about it with numbers, they're 20-15 with him, 6-15 without him, and 7 of those 20 wins came without Fraulo. Fraulo, yeah, let's call him Fraulo, Franz or Paolo, in any of those games too. So some wins there. He's just carrying the team, obviously, with his heart and hustle. 6-15 without him, and that includes 7 losses without him with Franz and Paolo or Fraulo. So I do think that there's a little bit more correlation to Jalen Suggs being out there and them winning than specific at this point in the season, at least Franz and Paolo. They're 6 points per 100 worse on defense when he's not out there and when he misses games. They're 5 points per 100 worse on offense in their offensive rating when he misses games. They don't have any kind of presence, athletic presence, sort of versatile presence, right? Somebody who can open things up on offense. They don't have that guy outside of Jalen Suggs because even Franz and Paolo, their moves to the basket aren't quick twitch, right, and like get around guys into space. It's a lot more just like bully ball. And this Hawks team has actually been a lot better down low. Capella's coming back. There was a little moment in time where Okongwu started, and there was a 7-game stretch right when he started and entered the starting lineup where the Cavs were dead. The Hawks were dead last in terms of their paint defense and their rim defense for a 7-game stretch. That's gotten fixed to a degree. It'll help to not play that good of teams over the course of the last 7 games as they've turned that around. But obviously, they've figured out a couple things too as they've got Okongwu out there and they figured ways out to supplement his lack of height, essentially, and his sort of lack of rim protection. They've supplemented that by adding a couple other guys and throwing them back in there. Plowden, I know it's not going to sound like a familiar name, but Daquan Plowden has been one of the most efficient players in the league when he's been out there. They actually have some guys behind Capella and Okongwu that can come in and help out. So that's going to be a huge part of this. Obviously, they've been actually in the top 10 in paint defense in their last 5, both at the rim and the extended paint. And lastly here, you still have Trae Young on this team. And Trae Young oftentimes is in his bag the best when he doesn't necessarily need to worry about sharing. He can just kind of do Trae. And that's what we've seen. He's been using guys like Vit Krejci, who's really turned back into just a 3-point spot up shooter, which is something that he needs, obviously, now without Bogey, and even DeAndre Hunter as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a situation where I think Trae's going to keep doing his thing. You look at him in the last 4, absolutely dominated this team. Other than the game earlier this season when they faced off, Hawks still won that game. And Trae only had about 18 points in that one, but in the last 4 overall, he's averaging 31.5 a game. He's at 11.5 assists per game against them as well. So I think he's going to keep being the exact type of point guard that beats the Magic. It's not relying on ball movement. It's one guy breaking down the defense, and then that's how you beat the Magic, essentially.
Yeah, you mentioned all that improved rim protection. Did you even mention Mo Gay though?
I don't think he's playing. Otherwise, I would have. But yeah, Mo Gay has been huge for them. It's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's gonna sit or not. I mean, they get Capella back though, like you said. And I mean, more importantly, yeah, Fraulo, because Paolo has just been dead weight in that tandem lately. Under 40% his last 10 games from the field. That's just not going to get it done for the Magic. Like, as much as they are a defense first team, like we saw them have that one spike game when Paolo shot well. If that doesn't happen, then they're just like sunk. So I mean, yeah, you could again sprinkle on the Hawks money line here as an underdog spot, maybe a little underdog round robin tonight, as we know. Monday in the NBA can get a little kooky, but I do like the favorite here, Boston in Miami. Spreads up to 7, but I think the team total is still good here or over for the game. 219 with Drew Holiday out. One of the Jays might not play. They're both listed questionable for the Celtics, but either way, I mean, you're going to get a ton of 3-point shooting and 5-out stuff as you always do with the Celtics. I mean, the thing is when Drew is out and you get more Pritchard, like that's an over. The last 7 without Drew, the Celtics are averaging 124 a game, shooting 40%, hitting 19 threes. And love you, Drew, but you're shooting 34% since the start of the year. Really just been slumping all year in terms of shooting, and then that disrupts their spacing a little bit. But they are road warriors. The Celtics now in Miami in a spot that they do not overlook because they hate this franchise. They need to get the monkey off their back from past playoff years. And I mean, last trip, they dropped 143 in Miami, shot 55% and had 36 assists. So Miami is vulnerable. Their defense kind of falls off a cliff against capable offenses or even like high volume offenses like the Bulls. We thought we were going to like punt it after their trade deadline game, and they come out, hit 19 threes, 35 assists on this team. Cavs didn't even shoot well, still dropped 126 on this team. Bucks eviscerated them from three recently. So you look at their last six against what I would call capable offenses, and I'm throwing Portland in there because I guess right now they're an excellent team. 130 defensive rating for the Heat defense, and they've only been able to like hold like the Nets and the Hornets and stuff really in check. And the Celtics offense, obviously elite, particularly well fit to exploit a team that's struggling in 3-point defense, as I'm highlighting. And on the road, they just play better, more disciplined. They have the lowest turnover rate in their last 8 road games, 121 offensive rating, 1-7 of 8, over and 4 of the last 5. So whether it's the Celtics team total because you don't trust the Heat or just over 219, I think we can expect points in this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't trust Miami to come along totally either. So I'm with that. I think that Miami is going to have to figure it out. They're integrating some guys tonight, right? We're probably going to see Wiggs and a few others kind of make their debut here, I believe. So I don't know what to expect from Miami, but I think this is still very attackable for Boston. So yeah, staying away from anything Miami right now, and for me on the whole, but for anybody who wants to bet on Miami, just give it a second. For Boston, like this, if one thing we know for sure, like they're going to bring it, like you said, against Miami. If we know that like they've been in the doldrums, this is still them just sort of like fighting through human nature and the malaise that comes, especially in February. This is not a team that you have to worry about any kind of malaise against. I do believe that there's some human nature aspect to this where they still like the 2 playoffs. They got 2 playoffs to make up here. So they're going to have to, right? Like there was twice that this happened to them where the Jimmy Butler Heat kind of knocked them out. So we'll still bet on them to bring it against Miami and Spo. Let me close it out in Denver here. You mentioned how well, Portland is playing. Superman does good. But I still think Denver minus 9.5. I'm still going to take it. I think it's going to end at like 11.5. There's one thing I just want to start with that really drew me to this. Why is Denny Avdia not playing anymore? Oh, because he's too good. Got it. Okay, so let's get some more Jeremy Grant out there. Like they haven't been tanking well because Denny Avdia is too good. I wish I was joking or I was like being tongue in cheek, but I'm not. Like he just all of a sudden is down to 20 minutes per game after playing 38, even with Jeremy Grant out there. Like who's taking his minutes? Tumani Kamara. So no, this is a clear cut example of some of the stuff that we've seen. Like for the Utah Jazz, they won a couple too many games. Ooh, we got to put John Collins and Lowry back on the bench. We can't have this winning stuff happening. And that's what I'm seeing with Portland is like, if you do too well, you might hit the bench. I just want to start with that. That's not even conspiracy theory because Denny Avdia is healthy and just stopped playing. So let's just start with that. Then we look at Denver. I do think they've gotten their groove back. And I understand that if you look at them over the last 5 games, and Nate, over the last 10 games, they have the easiest strength of schedule in the league. So they have not been playing good competition, but they have gotten their groove back by playing bad competition. Now, Portland, I'm going to put a little bit above the bad competition they've been playing. I do think they're probably a top 20 team in the NBA when they're full on trying. In their last 10, they have the 4th best net rating for Portland. But Denver has the 8th best net rating in their last 10, and they've really kind of come back to earth in the most crucial ways for them, mostly ball movement, but also getting to the rim, and also not necessarily drives to the rim, but a lot of ball movement leading to the rim. So we've got the dribble handoff play has been huge for them in the last 10, as has been just really cuts to the basket, not drives, but cuts. And that's where you can, I think, continue to beat a team like Portland, who, despite how well they've actually done limiting points in the paint on the season, they've had a really good opponent paint field goal percentage where they're really limiting stuff super well. This is not, I think, with the passes that you're going to get behind Ayton, where he's playing a little bit higher up in the paint to really defend it as opposed to the rim. That's where guys like Christian Brown are going to be cutting backdoor, even a little bit of Aaron Gordon now that he seems to be almost fully back, right? Getting up to 30 plus minutes. We're going to have him fully back. Michael Porter Jr. is questionable once again in this one. I believe he missed the last game, so we'll see about him. But the 3-point shooting hasn't been what they've relied on at all anymore for the Nuggets. It's been entirely going into the paint and getting everything done near the basket. They are second now in rim frequency over their last 10. They have the second highest rim field goal percentage inside of 5 feet in their last 10. And all of that holds true for the paint. So the entire paint has been theirs on offense, especially with Jokic up in his, actually maintaining his field goal attempts. It's been Jamal Murray who's upped his field goal attempts and started to play a lot better as well. So with Murray and Gordon really showing signs again, and obviously they don't have Peyton Watts and Russ Westbrook, I think you're going to see them dominate the paint down low. On defense, really the thing that stepped back up for Denver in the last 10 games or so on defense has been their ability to limit free throws. They finally stopped doing that. Crazy to think Portland is number 1 in the last 10 games in free throw attempt rate. the Nuggets are second best, limiting free throw attempt rate. So if they're going to be able to defend the paint and get to the paint, I think that's where they're going to own things, and that leads to Denver ball and double digit wins, even on the road.
Yeah. I mean, there's a correlation here, I think, between it being higher scoring and Denver covering. I was looking at the under for this game, though. I mean, just the way the Blazers have played is at 233 is crazy high
Yeah.
for a Blazers game. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Jokic has just had his way with them. I mean, Avdia, maybe I don't really buy that Chauncey Billups is somebody's telling him what to do here. I think he's coaching to win. Avdia, maybe he hasn't played much because he has 10 turnovers and 5 assists in his last 3 games. And he's an old school coach. He's like, you know what, kid, take care of the ball. I don't care what else you're doing. So I mean, I don't know if the Blazers are tanking at all. I mean, they've found something at least. Yeah, but in any case, yeah, I could definitely see the Nuggets just being a runaway train at home. But for me, I might look at the under in this one.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I mean, they're playing really well. I can see how scary it is. I'm banking on the trajectory of the Nuggets to continue going upwards. But that's all the time we have for you in Best Bets. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the other episode we have up for you every single weekday. That is Play It Props. Until we see you next, happy betting.